Part number three of our Q&A. People, we're going to get them all finished in this one. I'm really enjoying doing this, so I hope it's fun to listen to. How do you go about producing songs and getting them out into the world? Well, if by getting them out into the world you mean putting them on Spotify and iTunes, I haven't managed to do that for 3 years, so I'm probably not the best person to ask a question. If you mean how I motivate myself to actually just put things up on YouTube and Patreon has been a huge part of motivating me to want to do that with my day. How I go about producing songs, I usually write songs in isolation, like with no track or production in mind. I usually just write songs on guitar, and then after I open up Logic, I plug in like a MIDI controller or a guitar or whatever it is I'm using, and I just chuck things at it until something sticks. So that's how a lot of the songs come about, to be honest. What inspires you to make music, and what inspires you to make the kind of music that you do? I try not to think too much about what exactly it is that I'm trying to do, because I think the best way to do that and the best way to find your style is to just write until you notice a pattern of things that you instinctively do. I think so much about staying true to yourself is just working off instinct and working off what comes naturally to you when you sing and when you write. So I'm not sure what inspires me to make music that I do. I guess there are like influences and there are people I'm very inspired by, but I try not to put too much thought into that. But I am inspired. I am, not all the time, but like I definitely generally want to make things, and I'm at my happiest when I spend a day doing that. So I'm not really sure. At the core of it, I'm not sure what I'm driven by. Biggest inspiration? I don't know. Biggest inspiration? Oh, I mean, I've mentioned her so much, but probably Regina Spektor. I just think she's like the dream artist. Maybe Imogen Heap, just to throw a new one in the mix. I think she's someone who is just super credible but cool and kind of goofy and uncool at the same time. So she's a producer for other people. Taylor Swift did a song with her. That's the kind of life I would like to have. I would like to do a couple of albums. I mean, no one gets to pick their life, but like, you know, in a kind of idealistic mood board kind of way, I'd like to have a couple of albums, have my own style, people know what it is that I do, and then maybe produce stuff for other people as well. And someone go, oh cool, I'm like, you know, mini Taylor Swift in like 10 years time. Might be like, oh, I really want to write with Orla Gartland. So yeah, as a kind of lifestyle, Imogen Heap does really inspire me, and she also fights for loads of like amazing causes. Like she's currently, amongst a million other things, in tech and music industry, she is fighting for producers and writers and engineers to get credited on songs, and for that metadata to be kind of printed onto the master of each track, in the same way that when we were in a world of physical CDs or album sleeves and vinyl sleeves, all of that information will be printed on it, but now we've lost a lot of that. So she's the face for a campaign to get that back in the digital age, and just things like that. She's just cool. She's badass. Describe your new music using 3 words. I think it's a little bit more gritty, but I think it's hopefully full of character. That's kind of 3 words in itself. And exciting, but maybe just for me. How is the relationship with your parents? Do they support you? Oh, this is a really good one. Were they supportive from the get-go, or did they need time to adjust it? And how does living in London affect your relationship with them now? They were surprisingly on board. I'm the oldest of 3, so that made me think that they were going to be a bit like, oh my god, you know, it's like our little baby, she's like leaving, she's flying the nest. But both of my parents are in jobs, and I think they would say this themselves, that they don't particularly love. Neither of them went to university or really like pursued anything kind of specific. They kind of were in the civil service, and then kind of fell into jobs that are like very respectable and brilliant, but are just like, I've heard them both say separately that it's just like that they would have done it differently if they could go back. I think our parents' generation were so different from mine, and they didn't, you know, they're not like me where they, you know, think they're really special and deserving of a fun creative life. They just got on with it, which I really respect. So I think when I wanted to do something like music, they were really supportive, because they were like, well, you know, my mom wanted to be a Montessori teacher. She's amazing with kids. and she kind of abandoned that quite early on to do like a series of office jobs, and then eventually in the one that she's in now. So I think every time she walks by like a Montessori or something like that, you know, she does have this little pang of like, oh, that's, you know, that was her original passion. So I think with me, they just don't want me to have any regrets, which is very amazing. How does London affect your relationship? It sounds so weird, but I think it's actually better. Of course I don't get to see them as much, which like is such a shame, but I do make sure that I go home every like 2 months or so, and I think having that distance has made me respect my parents as well. This is also just part of growing up, but because they're not like disciplining me or like trying to rein me in or control me in any way as they would inevitably have to do if I was living in a house, there's just like we've become quite equal very quickly, and it means that when I go home I want to go and have lunch with my mom and dad, or I want to go for walks with them, and I want to spend time with them as people that I just like hanging out with. So I think it's been really good because I've never had a chance to resent them for anything, which if I was living in the house and I was really unsure of what I was doing and I was taking out on them and being a bit of a brat, that could have happened if I'd stayed home, I think, and it didn't get a chance to get bad. Are you ever afraid that the people you write songs about will hear them and recognize it is about them? Yes, that has happened many times. Do you often write while thinking about specific cases or just general ideas? It's a real mix. I mean, it always starts with like something specific. I never like sit down and go, oh, I wonder what it's like to fall out with your friend, let's write about that. Like, it needs to come from something, or else it's hard. That said, I sometimes write about other people's situations, or like try and imagine myself looking at something from, you know, from a set of eyes that isn't mine. But no, I try not to be too general and vague because, I don't know, it's not very personal. And did someone ever react to one of your songs recognizing it is about them? Yeah, loads. I'm trying to think of a good example. Yeah, I suppose some of the early EP songs were not about people. I think generally I stayed away from writing about relationships until I felt like I understood them a bit more. So when I was like 16, I didn't really want to be writing like love songs and breakup songs because I hadn't experienced a lot of that. So like Roots and Lonely People, they were just more like general, like Roots was about leaving home, Lonely People was about youth and being a certain age. So there were a few songs that were relationship-y, but a lot of them were like also about friendships. So I'm trying to think of a good one. Whispers was on the second EP. That was about Jack. And he's my current boyfriend. And it was an apology song for when I was a dick to him, and I actually told him it was about him because I wanted to say sorry. So I wanted to be like, hey, I also wrote a song about how I feel like a dick. And I don't know if it helped. He's had a lot of songs written about him. He's used to it. How do you get into and get good at mixing your own music using sequencers? Still something I feel I'm learning at, to be honest. Yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube videos and read a lot of forums and try and trust my ears, but producing stuff, like actually playing things in and coming up with ideas, is not that hard for me, but the final product, balancing things so that it's actually like the best it can possibly be, yeah, still getting there, I'm afraid. If you could go back and change one thing you've done in your career, how many more questions? Oh my god, I need to hurry up. Where's it gone? If you go back and change one thing in your career, what would it be? Honestly, I was about to say I wouldn't release the EPs, but I take that back because I've done so many things because of them that have been really important and fun. But I don't think I was ready to release music. I really didn't know who I was as an artist. And I think if I didn't have any kind of audience that were like, please release music, I don't think I would have put them out. So probably that. I certainly would have picked different people to work with early on, different producers. But I don't know. If you'd asked me this question a year ago, I think I could have gone on a big rant, but I've like kind of made my peace with the past now. So not a lot. I don't think I would have changed a lot. Maybe I would have. Some of my early YouTube videos were pretty bad, so I wouldn't have been such a cocky little shit, been like, hey, look, I know how to play guitar for 2 weeks, like, check out my cover. It's just like, no. What would be your dream venue to play? Probably the Olympia in Dublin. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? I mentioned earlier, but I'd like to be an Imogen Heap type. I'd like to live in, I think she lives in not a windmill, what do you call those things? A lighthouse. Different. I think she lives in a lighthouse. It's been like all gutted out. And she has a studio in the basement and a house at the top. She has a baby. That's pretty cool. Could I have a baby? I don't know. I can't picture myself with children. But that's what I'd like to do. Producing for the people, making my own albums at my own time, maybe owning my own label. What are the things you want to do but feel like you can't? I'd like to be in a band. That's not to say that I feel like I can't right now because I don't want to split my time between loads of different projects, but I'd like to be in a band or a duo someday. I'd like to be in something that isn't just all about me. Yeah, how do you motivate yourself to do your best and just keep going forward? Goodness me. God, you guys think I have all the answers, but I don't know. Some of it's instinct. I know a lot of people that are happy to just like be a musician but like spend 90% of their time sitting around, and I just literally can't do that. Like it makes me very angsty to just be like sat there. I don't know, I just get restless. But I don't know. I guess just having people that I'm inspired by and like keeping open-minded and keeping my ears open to new music as well. I think that's really important as a musician, to not grow bitter and cynical, because that's when your motivation will die. Whereas I love like a lot of new music, I love new bands, I love going to see new people, and I like make an effort to try and feed the creative part of my brain with things to be inspired by, because that makes me want to do them for myself. How often do you songwrite? What conditions do you work best under? Morning or at night? At home or in a studio? Initial seeds of ideas, I have the best ones when I'm here. I'm like in my room, it's like super quiet. I don't know if you can see, but like I live on a road where there's like not much going on. There's hardly ever any cars. It's like a sleepy suburban street, and it's really, really nice. But I'm terrible at finishing off ideas here. So probably seeds of ideas here, finishing off ideas when I bring them to a producer. And they have to be finished, because you have to record it in 10 minutes. Like, oh, you gotta finish it. So yeah, a mix of both. I'm really bad at night. I have to write during the day. I don't know why. Do you work best on a guitar or with a laptop or piano? It really varies, but generally guitar is best, I think. What's the favourite song that you've ever written? Don't know. I mean, it's classic for me to keep saying this single is the best thing I've ever written. It's one of the newest things I've ever written, so I recognise it might not be everyone's favourite, but it's definitely mine at the moment. Everyone that I've played it for is like, this is a very refined version of you as a musician, which is like the biggest compliment ever. They're not like, this is the best song to have ever existed, but they're just saying like, this embodies a lot of things that I associate with you as a musician. It just made me feel very happy. I had a few friends that said that when I played it for them. So probably that song, which is called I Go Crazy, but I'm sure you guys have ones that you prefer. Who do you generally write your songs for? Yourself, family, friends, audience, etc.? And what kind of people do you imagine your music most applies to or is appealing for? Wow, that's a really good question. Who do you generally write your songs for? A lot of the Patreon ones, like the ones that are here but never make it, are ones I've written for myself. I do always make an effort to do that. There's certainly like other songs. I don't think it's a bad thing on the flip side to want to write songs that people understand. Like, I think accessibility, even though you might not be writing your song solely for your audience, but I think there's something to be said for like wanting an idea to connect and that not necessarily being a bad thing, unless you're changing the essence of the song. So it's a real mix. I think it's like half myself, half my audience, but I don't think I ever write them for family or friends, really. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I'm a bit more selfish than that. And what kind of people do I imagine my music most appeals to? I don't know. Thinkers? People that just overthink everything, probably. What music are you listening to? Yes, I mentioned it earlier. I will sing her praises to the high heavens. Phoebe Bridgers. Not Bridges, Bridgers. She's amazing. She's got an album called Stranger in the Alps, and it's like the most beautiful thing I've heard all year. I'm obsessed. You should all check it out. Your vocals have improved so much over the years. I didn't have any hair to do that. What method of practicing do you think helped most? Scales, covers, singing. Just singing. I don't understand scales or music at all. I just sing a lot. Imitating your own favourite artist. I actually used to do that a lot. I used to sing Laura Marling songs and like try and sing in the way that she does. But which is probably good for like voice control, but probably isn't conducive to like setting up your own style. So it's all very instinctive. I sing with a bit of an American accent. I speak with a bit of an American accent. I don't know why. What song do you wish you'd written? Probably Case of You by Joni Mitchell. Connor says, why are you so great? Well, Connor. And did you consciously craft your own sound, or is it something that came naturally? I think for me it came quite naturally, but obviously when I've worked with producers in the past, they will just ask for like concrete things that they can work off, like influences that they can reference and things like that. So I think for me it's been relatively natural, but natural in the sense that I've also gone in lots of directions that I don't like, only to turn back. So it's been like a wibbly wobbly but still natural journey. Is there a certain sound genre that you'd like to lean towards but haven't for whatever reason? I actually really enjoyed writing Overthinking, and I kind of liked that like spoken word rappy thing, and I obviously have a hung up about being like a super uncool, super nerdy white girl that I don't really think that I should be rapping. I think that's fair though. Is there any other style? I don't know. I think the music that I make is very close to what I listen to, so at the moment I don't feel particularly restricted in any direction. But I guess sometimes I'd like to write songs for like belty voices, and I don't really think I have like a belty voice. I don't think I have like an Adele or like like I kind of have a more, I mean I can be loud, but I have more like a dinky voice. So I guess sometimes it'd be nice to like write some big belty ballads, but I'm not sure I'd pull them off. I feel I'm being really self-deprecating. You don't need to reassure me, guys, I'm sorry. Are you going to play at Summer in the City? Probably not for my own stuff, but I think Dodie will probably play, so I'll probably be there playing with her. How do you find the songs and choose to what playlists to put in Orla's Magical Mixtape? It's my main source of new music. That's so nice. I just look at my Spotify recommendations and I follow a couple of my friends who also make playlists. My friend Lauren Aquilina makes a really good one for pop. But yeah, I mean, Spotify's algorithms of what they suggest to you on new releases and old songs that are already up is just really good. So I do that, but also just recommendations from friends. I'm like open ears, always asking people what they're listening to. So it's a real mixed bag. Orla, how often do you cry when writing a song? How do you capture inspirations when they hit? Oh, I used Evernote on my phone. I've never used this, but someone's told me about it. And I wrote my newest song, No Ring, last weekend. I'll record it and share with the crew very soon. Doug, I would love to hear it. And similarly for anyone else that makes music, please feel free to share it with me and link it in a comment. Like, I will read everything eventually. It might take me like a little while, but I will. How often do you cry when writing a song? Probably not enough. I think I usually write songs and it might be like only after I've written them and I've performed them a few times where I'm like, oh god, this is really hitting me now. Now I understand where I was coming from. But it's rare in the moment that I get emotional. I don't know why. Maybe I'm a robot. What artists inspired you to get into music? Are they the same you still listen to today? I'm a broken record, but yes. Regina Spektor, Imogen Heap, Joni Mitchell. More often, Stevie Nicks. Oh yeah. How many licks does it get to the centre of a Tootsie Pop? I've never had one. Well, was the lips animation inspired by Freya's Faces collage, or does that happen to be a happy coincidence? That's actually a really happy coincidence, but that's amazing. I never even thought about that. So there's an artist called Demi Whiffen who's also on the Secret Demo Club. She is an amazing artist who I have chosen to do the single artwork for the single, and as long as she will work with me, I will have her. She's just, her style is so amazing. I love her. And she's really into collage. So the single artwork, which was made before I saw Freya's amazing collage, I've had it for a few months. Just due to Demi's like natural style, it was super collagey and layered. And so when I came to the guys about making a music video, I said I wanted the two to link up. So that's where the collage came from, not Freya. But in hindsight, I was probably inspired by Freya. How would you get motivated every day working as a freelancer without a set of duties that you have to perform? Some days I'm more motivated than others. I don't know. To-do lists? I have a lot of to-do lists. They're stuck all over my room. There's more. But I don't know. Anything that I don't get to do today, I have to do tomorrow. So I try and think of that. What other hobbies or passions do you have? Very little. It's embarrassing. This is what happens when your hobby becomes your job. First world problems. But seriously, I do need to get some more hobbies. I go to the gym and swim sometimes. But I draw, but not as often as I should. And I read, but not as often as I should. So I need to get more. What would you be doing if it wasn't music? I think this question came up earlier, but probably graphic design, I think. What are some of the favourite songs or artists of all time? I'm a broken record now, sorry. Whatever. Joni Mitchell, Case of You, Regina Spektor, Fidelity, or On the Radio. Imogen Heap, First Train Home. Stevie Nicks, Out of 17. Kate Bush as well. I think I mentioned her already though. Would you ever want your music to get to mainstream big radio level, or do you prefer being a smaller artist? That's a really good question. I don't think anyone really gets to choose their path, but somewhere in the middle of those two things would be a pretty sweet spot to land on if I got to choose. I have no romantic notions about being a big celeb and being followed around and playing Wembley and I don't. That's not my motivation ever. But that said, if I make an album that I'm really, really proud of, I think it's natural to want to reach as many ears as you can. So yeah, I'm not that fussed about being on the radio really, but yeah, it'd be certainly nice enough to have an audience big enough that I could, tour comfortably and, for it to be this exciting thing, some of which is kind of underground and Patreon is sort of enclosed, but some of it is just a general thing with some casual listeners. So yeah, I don't know, somewhere in the middle. I have no notions of being a pop star though. Favourite food? Pancakes. Favourite place? Inishmaan. It's one of the Aran Islands off the coast of Galway, and we go there every year with my family, and I love it so much. In your spare time when you're not creating incredible music, what are your favourite things to do? God, I'm so boring, guys. I feel so boring. I don't know, I just like to walk and swim and I don't know. I basically just do music all the time. It's really silly. So I haven't gone insane. I kind of have, probably. Look at me, I'm hiding in my jumper. Okay, my god guys, it's over an hour in the end. That's 75 questions as answered by you girl. Thank you for the questions, and yeah, I really enjoyed doing this, so I'll talk to you soon, I guess. And to reiterate the very first thing I said at the very first one of these videos, I have a single coming out on May 2nd. At the moment, that's a secret that only you know. It's a song called I Go Crazy, and I'm very, very proud of it. And I'll give you some more info and teasers about that in the coming weeks. But I'm very excited about it, so yeah, you'll have to forgive me. I'm going to be shouting about that a lot when it comes out. But I should state, because I know a few of you might be worried, the Secret Demo Club will continue as normal when this single and anything else comes out. I will not be too busy to do this. I will not neglect it. So just be aware. And if I do attract any new listeners or new followers, I've kind of decided that I'm not really going to direct them to the Secret Demo Club because I'm a terrible businesswoman, but because I like this gang. I like you guys. So really the only place that people find this now is if they watch videos where I've mentioned it or they follow it in the video description, but I have no plans to do a big push again for the time being anyway, where I try and recruit loads of new people, because yeah, I don't know, it's Secret Demo Club for a reason. It's not completely secret, but I don't want to tell everyone, so nothing will change when the single comes out. I'll just be talking about that song for ages. Okay, love you lots, bye!